Hello, my name is Addie Foss, and today I'm going to be discussing the Chinese criminal justice system with a specific focus on the judicial branch and the courts. Before I jump in, I just wanted to give a quick content warning due to the fact that I will be discussing some sensitive topics, including violent crimes, though this will not be at great detail. If this topic makes you uncomfortable, please listen to this presentation at your own discretion. Thank you, and I hope you enjoy. In order to better understand the criminal justice system in China, it is important to first discuss its beginnings and historical foundations. During imperial times, each dynasty had its own set of criminal laws alongside administrative officials that enforced these codes. The People's Republic of China was established in 1949, but it did not have a concrete set of criminal laws until 1979 after being drafted and revised over 30 times. Today, the PRC's criminal justice system consists of three parts: the People's Court System, the People's Procuratorate System, and finally the People's Police. First, we'll discuss the People's Court System. The first and most important branch of the Chinese judicial system is the People's Courts. A defendant's first interactions with the People's Court System starts at the lowest level of local courts in which the crime occurred. If the defendant is dissatisfied with their sentence, they can appeal and have it moved up to the next highest court. However, the defendant only gets one appeal, so the judgment that the next highest court issues will be the final judgment in most cases. If the court of first instance happens to be the Supreme People's Court, the original judgment will stand and cannot be appealed. Interestingly enough, there are some notable differences between the court system in the U.S. and its counterpart in China. In the People's Court System, cases must be tried by an odd number of judges. In relatively simple cases, one judge will preside, whereas in more complicated cases, anywhere from 3, 5, or 7 judges can hear the case, with one judge being the presiding judge. The most interesting thing about this system is that China does not have juries in their courts. Rather, they have people's assessors, which have much more authority than a typical jury member and can decide issues of facts and law. Finally, it is also worth noting that this picture is of the Hunan Provincial People's High Court. This image is from an article that discusses the investigation of Xi Xiaoming, the second Supreme People's Court judge in a 5-year span that had been accused of corruption in 2013. The second branch of the Chinese judicial system is the People's Procuratorate, which can be understood as a counterpart to the prosecuting attorneys that we have here in the United States. While the prosecuting attorneys are part of the judicial system in the U.S., they function more like a branch of their own in China. This branch has levels that correspond with the levels in the People's Court System. For example, the local procurator would coincide with the local court. The People's Procurators have much more power than most prosecuting attorneys in many legal traditions across the world, including supervising correctional facilities, supervising the enforcement of sentences, and investigating offenses in office such as corruption. The third and final branch of the Chinese criminal justice system is the People's Police, which refers to most law enforcement officers in China in a very broad sense. Under these 4 main categories of public security police, state security police, prison police, and judicial police, there are many other subcategories. Just like the United States, there are many different subcategories for police officers. For example, there are your typical cops, such as the Criminal Investigations Unit, patrol officers, and traffic police. There's also an anti-narcotics force and an immigration unit. 2 of the most notable units are the Political Security Police that manages socio-political order in Chinese society, as well as the Special Service Police, which is comparable to U.S. Secret Service officers that protect important political figures. In China, crimes are classified into 8 categories. These are as follows. Number 1, crimes of counter-revolution, such as treason, espionage, and mass rebellion. Number 2, crimes of endangering public safety, such as arson, explosions, and poisonings. Number 3, crimes of undermining the socialist economic order, such as smuggling and illegal trades. Number 4, crimes of infringing upon the right of the person, such as murder, assault, and kidnapping. Number 5, crimes of property violation, including robbery, stealing, and extortion. Number 6, crimes of disrupting social order, such as harboring fugitives, gambling, and hooligan activities. Number 7, crimes of disrupting marriage and the family, including bigamy and abuse. And finally, number 8, crimes of dereliction of duty, including bribery and abuse of imprisoned persons. Now that we've discussed some of these crimes, it's important to talk about the rates at which they occur. The Ministry of Public Security started releasing crime statistics to the public in 1987. These statistics included numbers from previous years that had never been released to the Chinese public before. While I was not able to find any crime statistics that were more recent, I still feel that it's important to look at these statistics because it gives us a way to predict how these numbers might have grown to today in 2020. For murder, there were about 10,000 cases in 1981, and this doubled to almost 24,000 in 1991. For rape, there were 30,000 cases in 1981, and this later rose to about 50,000, though I was not able to find a specific year for this number. For larceny, there were 744,000 cases in 1981, and this more than doubled to almost 2 million in 1991. For drug offenses, there were 8,344 in 1991, which is 0.7 per every 100,000 people. I wasn't able to find the specific drug offense they were talking about, but it's easy to presume that it was talking about distribution, given that there are more users than distributors, and the number is quite small here. Now that we've talked about these crimes and some of the rates at which they occur, it's also important to discuss an example of a gross miscarriage of justice. Last year in 2019, Sun Xiaoguo was sentenced to death for multiple counts of rape and insulting women by forcible means. He was originally handed down the death penalty in 1998, but was retried in 2007 and released in 2010 after serving only 12 years. In early 2019, he was tried for separate crimes involving organized crime and running a sort of mafia, so to speak. After getting sentenced to 25 years, he was retried once again in 2019 for the rapes from 1998 and sentenced to death. Many people feel that this is a gross miscarriage of justice, even though he got what was coming to him in the end, because of the fact that he only served 12 years originally. Furthermore, since he was released from prison, he had more time to commit more crimes. If he had just been kept in prison in the first place, none of this would have ever happened. So how do we prevent something like Sun Xiaoguo from ever being realized again? Well, it's important to remember that no criminal justice system in the world is perfect, and there is always reform work to be done. The problems with the Chinese criminal justice system do not exist in a vacuum, but these problems arise from a system that enables them. Of course, there are some possible solutions. For example, while the people's assessors are appointed by the government, they can instead use randomly selected jurors in court trials to help diminish any bias or corruption. This would help give the public more of a say in this system. Furthermore, monitoring the actions of officials more closely would once again help to diminish corruption. With these two steps taken, this would decentralize a lot of the power in the system and give a voice back to the Chinese citizens. After all, the Chinese criminal justice system is there to serve its citizens and keep them safe. This cursory look at the complex criminal justice system in China shows that while it gets some things right, it also has many issues that need to be resolved. However, we can only hope the government makes the right choices in order to best serve the needs of its citizens and reform this system. Thank you for listening to this presentation, and I hope you walk away from this feeling a bit more informed about the Chinese criminal justice system.